The alarm shattered the silence at precisely 6 a.m. Chelsea's hand darted out from beneath her blanket, smacking the snooze button with the precision of someone who had done it 1,000 times before. She groaned, not from the sound but from the weight of another day pressing down on her chest. College life wasn't glamorous, it was chaos wrapped in deadlines and delivered with a side of sleep deprivation. Her phone buzzed against the nightstand. A text from her best friend Danny, "Don't forget to breathe. You've got this." Chelsea allowed herself a small smile, shoving away the voice in her head that whispered otherwise. She threw off the covers, bracing herself for the cold touch of the floor. Her tiny bedroom was a battlefield of textbooks, highlighters, and hastily scribbled notes. A cup of half-drunk coffee from last night sat on the desk, its bitter aroma lingering in the air. Her morning routine was a race against time. 15 minutes to shower, 10 to get dressed, 5 to stuff everything into her backpack. Breakfast? An afterthought, if she had time, maybe a granola bar. But today the bus was running late, and by the time she reached the stop it was already packed. She squeezed in, clutching the pole for balance as the driver navigated the potholes with wild abandon. The campus was its own kind of chaos. Students bustled about, faces buried in phones, oblivious to the world around them. Chelsea's first class, educational psychology, was held in a room with flickering fluorescent lights that hummed just loud enough to irritate her. The professor's voice droned on about learning theories while her mind drifted to the internship waiting for her in the afternoon. Internship days were always the hardest. Chelsea loved working with kids, but the reality of being a teacher in training was grueling. Today, her assignment was in a 5th grade classroom. The students were lively, their energy contagious but exhausting. "Miss Chelsea, can you help me with this?" one boy asked, holding up a math problem that looked like a riddle from an ancient manuscript. She crouched beside him, her voice patient and encouraging. Moments like these reminded her why she had chosen this path. But as the day wore on, doubts crept in. Was this really what she wanted? The endless demands, the emotional labor, it was overwhelming. The bus ride home was quieter, the evening rush hour casting a subdued glow over the city. Chelsea leaned her head against the window, the vibrations lulling her into a daze. Her phone buzzed again, this time a group chat notification. Her friends were planning a weekend outing to the beach, a rare opportunity to unwind. At home, her parents greeted her with warm smiles. They always did their best to make her feel supported, even if they didn't fully understand the weight of her responsibilities. Dinner was a simple affair, rice, vegetables, and her mom's comforting stew. "How was your day?" her dad asked, his voice steady and reassuring. "Busy," Chelsea replied, not wanting to unload her burdens on them. Later that evening, as she sat in her room, staring at the piles of unfinished assignments, her phone buzzed once more. Danny's text brought her back to the present. "You need this beach trip. Trust me." Chelsea sighed, allowing herself to imagine the salty breeze and the sound of waves crashing against the shore. For the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of excitement. The city could wait. Tomorrow was another day, but for now Chelsea closed her eyes and let herself dream of freedom. The sun hung high in the sky, radiating warmth that kissed Chelsea's skin as she stepped out of Danny's car. The sea breeze hit her face immediately, carrying with it the salty tang of the ocean and the promise of a carefree day. She stretched her arms above her head, letting the excitement of the moment push aside the weight she'd been carrying. "All right, troops," Danny called, clapping her hands like a drill sergeant. "Let's claim the best spot before someone else does." Chelsea laughed as the group followed Danny's lead, hauling towels, a portable speaker, and a cooler packed with drinks. The beach was alive with energy, families setting up umbrellas, couples walking hand in hand along the shore, and kids chasing each other through the shallow waves. It felt like a whole different world from the city's grind. "Here," Danny declared, planting their flag, a comically oversized towel with a pineapple print, in a prime location. "This is home base." They set up quickly, laying out towels in a semicircle. Chelsea kicked off her sandals and dug her toes into the warm sand. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe. Danny opened the cooler and passed around cans of soda and beer. "Here's to freedom," she said, raising her drink. "To freedom," the group echoed, clinking their cans together. Chelsea sipped her soda, scanning the beach. A group of guys was playing volleyball nearby, their shouts blending with the sound of crashing waves. One of them caught her eye, a tall guy with sun-bleached hair and an easy grin. He noticed her looking and waved. "Oh," Danny said, nudging Chelsea. "Beach boy alert. He's totally into you." Chelsea rolled her eyes, but she couldn't help the smile creeping onto her face. Relax, Danny. He's just being friendly. Friendly? Please. That was a hey come talk to me wave, Danny teased, her grin wicked. Before Chelsea could respond, the group decided it was time for a swim. They ran toward the water, shrieking as the cool waves splashed against their legs. Chelsea dove under, the salty water rushing over her. She surfaced with a laugh, her worries washing away with the tide. The hours slipped by in a blur of laughter, music, and easy conversation. They played frisbee, built a half-hearted sandcastle, and even attempted yoga poses on their towels, much to everyone's amusement. As the sun began to dip lower, casting the beach in hues of gold and pink, the volleyball game nearby wrapped up. The guy with the sun-bleached hair walked over, holding a ball under his arm. Hey, he said, his voice warm and friendly. We've got room for more if you're up for it. Danny practically shoved Chelsea forward. She's up for it. Chelsea glared at Danny before turning to the guy. Sure. Why not? The game was casual but competitive. Chelsea surprised herself by holding her own, diving for the ball and scoring a few points. The guy whose name she learned was Ryan seemed impressed. Nice save. He called after one of her better moves. By the end of the game, Chelsea was out of breath but smiling. Ryan offered her a high five, which she returned. You're pretty good, he said, his grin easy and genuine. Thanks, Chelsea replied, feeling a slight blush creep up her cheeks. As they walked back to their spot, Danny gave Chelsea a knowing look. Told you he was into you? Chelsea just shook her head, laughing. You're impossible. The group spent the rest of the evening watching the sunset. The cooler was nearly empty, and the music from their speaker had mellowed into soft acoustic tunes. Ryan and his friends joined them, and the conversation flowed easily. Chelsea found herself relaxing more than she had in months. When it was finally time to leave, Ryan waved goodbye. Maybe I'll see you around, he said, his tone hopeful. Maybe, Chelsea replied with a smile. As they piled back into Danny's car, the group was buzzing with post-beach energy. Chelsea leaned her head against the window, her mind replaying the day's events. For the first time in a long time, she felt like the world wasn't moving too fast. The beach, the laughter, even the unexpected volleyball game, it all felt like a reminder that life didn't always have to be so heavy. As the car sped back toward the city, Chelsea let herself savor the moment, knowing she'd carry this day with her for a long time. The road leading to Uncle Ben's farm was quiet, framed by fields that stretched endlessly on either side. Chelsea leaned her head against the car window, letting the gentle hum of the tires on gravel lull her into a daydream. It had been years since she'd been here, but her memories of the place were warm and vivid, chasing butterflies in the tall grass, catching fireflies at dusk, and listening to Uncle Ben's hearty laughter echoing through the farmhouse. Her mom, sitting behind the wheel, was equally nostalgic. You're going to love it, Chelsea, she said, glancing over. Ben's place hasn't changed much. It's just as peaceful as it always was. When they finally arrived, Uncle Ben was already waiting on the porch, waving enthusiastically. He was exactly as Chelsea remembered, sun-kissed skin, a wide-brimmed hat perched jauntily on his head, and a smile that could melt even the most stubborn of moods. Chelsea, look at you, he exclaimed, pulling her into a warm hug. All grown up and still as pretty as a picture. Chelsea laughed, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks. Hi, Uncle Ben. It's good to be back. The farmhouse was like stepping into another time. The wooden floors creaked familiarly underfoot, and the air was filled with the faint scent of lavender and fresh bread. Uncle Ben showed them to their rooms, and as Chelsea unpacked, she caught herself smiling. The farm felt like a world away from the chaos of the city. Later that afternoon, while her mom and Uncle Ben chatted on the porch, Chelsea decided to explore. The fields were just as she remembered, golden and swaying gently in the breeze. She wandered toward the old barn, her curiosity piqued by the sound of a distant laugh. As she turned the corner, she saw a woman about her age standing near the chicken coop, her dark hair tied back in a loose braid. The woman looked up and broke into a wide grin. Chelsea? Is that you? It took Chelsea a moment, but then it clicked. Diane? Oh my gosh, it's been forever. The two hugged, laughing at the sheer coincidence of reconnecting. Diane explained that she'd been helping Uncle Ben on the farm for the past few years, managing the day-to-day tasks. It's not the most exciting life, Diane admitted, but it's honest work and I love being surrounded by nature. They spent the rest of the day catching up. Chelsea told Diane about college, her internships, and the beach trip. Diane listened intently, occasionally teasing her about her city girl struggles. The next morning, Chelsea was woken early by Uncle Ben, who insisted she join him for fishing. Groggily, she followed him to the lake, where the water mirrored the pale pink of the rising sun. Uncle Ben handed her a fishing rod, his grin as mischievous as ever. "You ready to catch breakfast?" he asked. Chelsea laughed, shaking her head. "Let's just hope I don't fall in." The morning passed in a serene haze, with Uncle Ben telling stories about the farm and Chelsea catching her first fish. She shrieked when it came time to remove the fish from the hook, but Uncle Ben just chuckled, taking care of it for her. Afterward, they returned to the farmhouse, where Diane was waiting with a plate of fresh biscuits. The three of them sat on the porch, enjoying the food in each other's company. But as the day went on, Chelsea began to notice small things, subtle glances exchanged between Uncle Ben and Diane, the way their hands lingered when they passed each other plates at lunch. It wasn't overt, but it was there, a quiet connection that Chelsea hadn't expected. That evening, Uncle Ben brought out a bottle of homemade cachaca. "This is the good stuff," he said, pouring a glass for Chelsea. Diane laughed, nudging Chelsea. "Go on, try it. You won't regret it." Chelsea took a sip, the strong, sweet liquor warming her from the inside out. The three of them sat around the fire, the crackling flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. The conversation flowed easily, and Chelsea found herself sharing stories she hadn't told anyone in years. At one point, Diane leaned over, her voice low. "This place has a way of getting under your skin," she said. "You start to see things differently out here." Chelsea nodded, feeling the truth in Diane's words. The farm was changing her, peeling away the layers of stress and doubt she carried from the city. When the rain started, they moved indoors, the sound of droplets drumming against the roof. Diane excused herself to prepare tea, leaving Chelsea and Uncle Ben alone in the living room. Uncle Ben turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "You know, Chelsea," he said, "life isn't just about deadlines and plans. Sometimes you've got to let the world surprise you." She smiled, leaning back into the worn sofa. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. The next day, Chelsea joined Diane for a walk through the fields. They talked about everything, their dreams, their fears, and the things they'd learned from life so far. As they stood on a hill overlooking the farm, Chelsea realized how much this trip had changed her. The simplicity of the farm, the warmth of Uncle Ben and Diane, it had all reminded her of what truly mattered. When it was time to leave, Chelsea hugged Uncle Ben tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Don't be a stranger, kiddo. This place will always be here for you." As the car pulled away, Chelsea looked back at the farmhouse, its silhouette glowing softly in the morning light. She carried the memories with her, knowing they'd stay with her forever. Life might be chaotic, but for now she had found her center.